The 2024 Seattle Seahawks draft class is complete. 8 new guys are on the team, and I want to talk about each one and show some interesting stats, facts, or something about them that I found out over this weekend. Now, it's a lot harder to find some information on 6th-round guys like Michael Drell, who played at a Division II school, but I'm just going to give you something interesting about each position and a small opinion. Overall, from what I see, and I'm usually not that critical of drafts because at the end of the day, I don't know as much as a scout or as somebody working with the Seahawks. But it seems like overall we got some good high value people near the end of the draft especially. I love our 1st-round pick and our 3rd-round pick. And overall, I would probably say it's going to work out. The last 2 drafts have been phenomenal. I trust John Schneider, and now I trust already Mike McDonald because at the end of the day, he knows what he's doing, even though he's young. I think this is a good duo together, and I think this draft is going to turn out really well. Let's break down the 2024 Seattle Seahawks draft class. 8 new guys from rounds 1 through 6. We didn't have a 7th-round pick. And let's talk about them. I'm not going to give you the most detailed response on some of the guys, maybe in the 6th round, and excuse my pronunciation on some of them. I will try my best. But at the end of the day, 8 guys, here's the picks, and a little bit something to know about each one. We obviously all know the first and foremost, round 1, pick 16, defensive tackle Byron Murphy. He was somebody that I didn't even know would be available at 16 potentially. There was obviously it was very tricky in this draft because the first 14 picks of the draft were all offensive players. Latu from UCLA, edge rusher, went 15 to the Colts, and then the Seahawks had pretty much their fair share of picking from everyone else in the draft, and they took Byron Murphy. He was the 2nd defensive player off the board, considered potentially the best defensive tackle, if not the best defensive player in the entire draft available. I did a whole video about him specifically, but as we know, he is likely to become a very high level, hopefully all pro type of player one day when you take somebody that high. His production score in the combine was 2nd for all defensive tackles. Athleticism score was 4th. His total score though for the combine for defensive tackles was 1st. He is obviously, a great football player at Texas. He had a 91.1 PFF grade in 2023, which was 2nd among all defensive tackles in the entire realm of college football. So he had the 2nd highest PFF grade among all defensive tackles in football. 45 total pressures in 2023, which was 5th among defensive tackles. And he had a 19.6 pass rush win rate, which was 1st, according to PFF, in all of college football for his position. So overall, great pick at number 16. I couldn't be happier. A+ on that one. And, that was the most important pick we had in the draft. But the Seahawks have been really good, obviously, at finding talent, even obviously early in the 2012, 13, 14 range, but even the last 2 years in 2022 and 2023, they've been very good at finding talent in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round that have completely been major roles in the Seahawks these last couple of years. So let's talk about them. With the 3rd round pick, it was round 3, pick 81, right guard Christian Haynes. I from what I'm reading overall, is a guy who potentially could be a guy who starts day 1 at right guard for us. He's 24 years old. He was, he had a lot of experience in college, and a lot of great things have been said about him. His production score at the combine was 3rd among all guards, and his total score among all guards at the combine was 5th, which is good for a guy that you get in the 3rd round. He had a 89 PFF grade since 2022. That's 3rd among all guards in football. And he was at UConn, not a place he has a lot of help around him to make him look better. He was probably making everybody else look better around him. He was considered, according to the PFF draft tracker, a round 3 elite pick. So somebody that you probably are extremely, extremely happy to be catching at the third round, the 81st pick, a guard that good. Through 2022, Christian Haynes had 748 pass blocking snaps. He allowed 15 QB pressures and 1 sack. Let's say that again. 748 pass blocking snaps, 15 QB pressures out of those, and 1 sack. 49 straight starts in college and an 89 PFF grade, third among all guards in college football. And we got him in the third round. I have a video about that as well. Those two, I did the first 2 draft picks. I have a full video about him if you want to learn more about Christian Haynes. But great pick by the Seahawks, and I'm pretty happy about it. Next pick the Seahawks had was round 4, pick 118, inside linebacker Tyrese Knight. Let's talk about it. He was ranked 11th among all linebackers combine score and total score as well, which is pretty good for somebody we're talking about getting in round 4. I'm not going to complain about that too much. Here's some fun facts we had. He come from UTEP, where he had 140 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 15.5 tackles for loss in his career at UTEP. He played outside linebacker in 2021 and 2022. He moved to the middle linebacker position, which in 2023, which he states he likes more. But according to the Seattle Times, we have not told him specifically where he would be playing, if he gets time on the field. Obviously, with later round draft picks, you never know what happens. But they have yet to tell him what specific spot he will play at for the Seahawks. He also said it was a good vibe trip when he came to Seattle and had a feeling that this would be the team that ends up taking him. So inside linebacker, outside linebacker, we're not really sure where he's going to be, but adding to the linebacking core. And that's the first thing with those 3 picks that, kind of show me a lot about what the Seahawks were trying to do. They had a need at the defensive line in the trenches. And I said this on many videos before the draft. Build inside out. You want to build your lines, offensive and defensive line, then we can build out and see where we can go from there. And that's what they look to do. They got Byron Murphy, defensive tackle. They got a right guard in Christian Haynes. And then they got Tyrese Knight, linebacker, another position of need. So they really attacked their positions of needs quickly and early. And that's, it was obviously smart. After that, A.J. Barner, tight end from Michigan at round 4, pick 121 from a trade from Denver is where we got that pick. This was not a good score, which was his production score at the combine, which was 13th. He had 59, which was 13th among all tight ends, but he did have a total score with athleticism test and everything of 70, which was 9th among all tight ends in the combine. In NFL.com's prospect grade has him as a 6.1. It says good backup with potential to develop into a starter. So there is some upside. Here's what Mike McDonald had to say about A.J. Barner. He said he's an underrated athlete who can run several routes, has strong run after catch skills, and the Seahawks think has receiving upside. But Mike McDonald said blocking tight end, which Barner has been billed as, is an important role. So that's fair. It seems like A.J. Barner is being brought in. He has some athleticism, but he's being brought in as a potential blocking tight end, like simply. He said that if you ask, A.J. Barner himself said, if you ask me to go out there and catch 10 passes a game, I'll do that. If you ask me to man up the C gap and go be physical, I'll do that. If you ask me to play every play on special team, I'll go do that. I love playing physical football. He says he loves football, looks forward to helping the team compete for championships, catching passes, blocking, and playing as many special teams plays as needed. So overall, seems like a depth guy, and specifically a guy that we're looking to have that he could be in a position where he is blocking more than playing other positions. And I did see there's a lot of like receiver type of potential for him. Mike McDonald even mentioned that he has the some type of receiver body type and role that he's had at Michigan. He was a catch. He did have some big catches there, but it looks like he's brought in specifically for blocking here in Seattle. That brings us to round 5, pick 136, also via Denver. We have 3 picks via Denver. Cornerback Nehemiah Pruett. Nehemiah should be the correct pronunciation because I went online to make sure I could try to find a way to pronounce it correctly. But a corner from Auburn. We actually ended up taking 2 corners from Auburn. DJ James comes later in this video. But Nehemiah conference you want to talk about. We're talking about in the SEC. The hardest in football. The hardest conference. The most physical conference. The best conference in college football. Nehemiah Pruett, 12 catches allowed in 2023. Fewest among all corners. So he was locked down. His combine grade wasn't great for production at 23rd among all corners, but his athleticism score was 8th among corners, and his total score at the combine was for corners at 12th at a 72 grade. He had a 6.16 prospect grade on NFL.com, which is listed as a good backup with potential to develop into a starter. So he had a 5-year college career, played 6 games as a reserve in 2019. But he ended up having a pretty good career. 2020 led the team with 10 PBUs, started 10 out of 11 games, 25 tackles and interception, played all 13 games in 2021, 9 starts, 27 tackles, and interception. 2022 tied the team lead with 8 PBUs, started all 12 games, 37 tackles, 4.5 for a loss with 1 sack. And then in 2019, he started 9 games, 22 tackles, tackle for loss, interception, 3 PBUs, and missed the first 3 games due to injury, but played the rest of the season afterwards. So we added corner depth, of course, and then, of course, we continued to add offensive line depth, which the Seahawks, of course, always need. Round 6, pick 179 via Washington. That was where we got that pick from. Offensive tackle, and I'm going to say it out the way that it's written on the University of Utah's athletics. Satawa Luma, and I hope I'm saying it right. Satawa Luma is the offensive tackle from Utah, and I'm going to call him SL for right now on this video so I don't mess it up. He was a prospect grade of a 6.16, which is good backup with potential development to a starter on NFL.com. He ranked 5th among all guards on production score at the combine, and he rated a total score 75, which is 7th among all guards at the combine, which is not bad considering 6th-round pick at 179. SL, what do we have to say about him? Well, it's a 6th-round pick from Utah, as mentioned. Here's a fun fact. 1 out of 9 children, he said his competitiveness comes from breakfast time. Cereal was already being emptied out of boxes before he could even grab a bowl and spoon, and he had to learn quickly. That's just a fun fact there. But a lot of people, including Jim Nagy, says that he's not getting enough love in the media. He's a 3-time Pac-12 all-conference player. Started 38 consecutive games, 19 at right tackle, 19 at right guard. And NFL teams love the versatility and dependability. Quick, loose, and coordinated big man who is easily athletic enough to play left tackle at the next level. So there's true four position flexibility there. SL's game last week against Cal was one of the best O-line tapes we've seen this entire season, according to Jim Nagy. This was obviously during the season. So we're talking about a guy that potentially has a, versatility of 4 positions on the offensive line. The Seahawks seem to have got him at really good value in the 6th round. And at the end of the day, it adds depth to the offensive line, which never hurts. Round 6, pick 192, corner DJ James, who played 3 years at Oregon, I believe it was, and then 1 year at Auburn, alongside Nehemiah Pruett. So we're talking about 2 corners that played together in college at Auburn last year. DJ James, who has a pretty good prospect grade for a 6th-round pick, he's at a 6.3, which is eventually will be a plus starter, according to NFL.com. He was the 7th overall total score at the combine for corners when it comes to production score, athleticism score, and all that. He is known, he says he is a quick burst, instinctual, high football IQ guy. He's 6 feet, 175 pounds. He played inside slot and outside corner at Auburn. And obviously the reason he left Oregon after 3 years was when the coaching change happened at Oregon. And this is a very interesting one here. And I think this is very important to see. In 2024, corners that forced the most incompletions in man coverage. Number 1 was a guy from FSU. Number 2, DJ James, who was pretty much tied with him, actually. I think it looked like they're exactly tied on the chart. So we're talking about a guy forced incompletions in man coverage, tied for number 1 in all of college football. And in forced incompletion rate in man coverage, he was number 1 by a landslide. We're talking about a 6th-round pick here. That's ahead Kool-Aid. That's ahead of everybody else that got drafted before him in every round. I mean, this is everyone in college football. He is number 1 by far for forced incompletion rate in man coverage. I don't know if the Seahawks found a way to do it again and find a high-value corner late again. I don't know how they always do it, but it seems like they might have done it once again with DJ James. And last but not least, and I'm obviously not considering, all the undrafted free agents, rookie minicamp invites. Obviously, there's 20 guys that got, undrafted free agents, including guys like Washington tight end Jack Westover, which I think a lot of people know who that is. If you live in Seattle or if you're a Seahawks fan, you kind of know some UW football. But I'm just doing the 8 draft picks. Round 6, pick number 207 via Denver. Also, we always get our picks via Denver. Offensive tackle Michael Drell. Now, Michael Drell, why I find it more interesting than anything, there's not that much numbers on him. There's not much stats. You don't have PFF ratings on him that much because he went to University of Findlay, which is a Division II school. And he said that means everything to me to see Michael Drell, University of Findlay, on the screen rather than another school. And this is what I actually found the most interesting about him. I'll give you some of the combine scores. But what's interesting is 6th-rounder Michael Drell said after he gained weight and caught attention at D2 Findlay, he was contacted by D1 schools, but he didn't leave. He wanted to stay loyal to those who were loyal to me. The Findlay coaches told him in high school if he puts on weight, they could help him get to the NFL. And that ended up being true. He was a 6th-round pick to the Seattle Seahawks and getting his chance in the NFL coming from a Division II school. His prospect grade on NFL.com, 5.65, candidate for bottom of the roster or practice squad. They believe, according to NFL.com, he's nowhere near ready to take an NFL snap, but his traits and athleticism might be worth a developmental plan. To be sure, Drell is a project. However, he should be able to improve as both a run and pass blocker with a year of technique work. He's limber enough with good range to climb to linebackers or set out to edge rushers. Drell is unlikely to be drafted, but his tools might entice the team to bring him for a look at camp. And little did he know, he actually didn't even go in the last round. He went to the second and last round. He went 6th round instead of 7th, when a lot of people believed he might not even be drafted. At the end of the day, to me, it's a good story. Division II player. He's getting a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be on the roster forever, but it's offensive line guy. He sounds like he's athletic and will at least be able to compete at camp, and found a way through Division II to get to the Seattle Seahawks roster after the NFL draft, or in the NFL draft. Pretty amazing. Overall, Seahawks picked up 3 offensive linemen, 2 corners, a defensive tackle, and a tight end and 1 linebacker, filling in a lot of the positions they might need to fill. And at the end of the day, I'm excited to see what comes out of this and who actually, as we get closer to the year, who's actually going to be some people that are everyday production type of guys. We'll find out. Time will tell. And I can't wait to see you guys next time for the next video. Any support means the world. Like and subscribe and leave a comment if you want to be supportive. I love y'all, and we'll see you next time.